Welcome to Front Page. You know what? I think we should stop the Silicon Valley of the East brochure talk for a second. It's a very tired cliche that smells like a government tourism ad from 2004. So let it be there. In 1985, an Indian computer was essentially a glorified typewriter that required a government permit and a miracle to start. Yet, Texas Instruments ignored the data entry trap and went straight for the jugular, semiconductor design. So while the rest of the world treated India like a massive filing cabinet for grunt work, Texas Instruments treated it like a foundry for brains. Fast forward 40 years, Ashwini Vaishnav standing on a stage with a 2-nanometer design isn't actually just a photo opportunity. It's the final proof of a 4-decade heist. Silicon Valley thought they were saving a few bucks on labor. They actually handed over the keys to the future. This week, Texas Instruments opened a 550,000 square foot research and development fortress in Bengaluru. Forget capacity expansion. This is an aggressive statement for the future itself. The crown jewels of semiconductor design just landed in the hands of Indian engineers, proving the brain of the global supply chain has officially moved house. Beyond the mission, statements and polished glass, do you really actually want to take a peek into what's actually churning inside this 500,000 square foot monolith? If yes, come with me. We will find design teams and circuit labs, testing facilities that essentially put silicon through a localized version of hell. We are of course talking about extreme heat and voltage spikes, because if a chip survives these rooms, it can survive anything the world throws at it. Texas Instruments is building the very gritty essential architecture of the modern world. These are the analog chips and processors that keep our EVs on the road, medical devices pumping, and AI servers from, well, melting into a puddle. So I guess while the rest of the world hops on the chatbot hype train, Texas Instruments is busy building the actual nervous system. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav stood there at the launch. He didn't talk about low-cost labor. Instead, he spoke about ownership. India is now defining the product, designing the silicon, taping it out. The tide is finally turning. For decades, the catch was the nagging suspicion that India was just the world's glorified back office. The persistent, dull stigma of being the planetary service desk. But if you actually look at the ground truth, that old story is looking increasingly lame and pathetic. Texas Instruments was the first global capability center before we even had the acronym, to be honest. Back then, they had to ship code via satellite dishes. The internet was a luxury. Designing chips offshore was too sensitive. Texas Instruments ignored the skeptics and they built anyway. Now, there are 2,000 GCCs in India, and they're not just patching leaky software, no. Conversely, they are inventing the AI logic that moves global freight and are forging the very foundations on which retail giants actually lean on. The so-called back office didn't just get a gold watch and a promotion, no. Instead, it was something way bigger. It walked into the building and took over the controls. And of course, here is the front page take. Forget the ribbon cutting and the new set of keys. We are watching a decades-long circle finally snap shut. In the 80s, the legends say TI gear was hauled through these streets on the bullock carts. I'm not sure, but well, that's what the legends say. By 2026, that same legacy sits inside high-tech fortresses. The era of doing it for less is now in the dust. What's left standing is the era of doing it better than anyone else on the planet. For the 20-somethings watching, yes, please watch closely. You're looking at your fight. It's no longer enough to just learn the language of code, no. You have to grasp the physical world that code actually inhabits. If people keep telling you software is eating the world, remind them about one thing. It still needs a plate to sit on. And that plate, my friends, is silicon. And that silicon now takes flight in Bengaluru. Texas Instruments was there for the first spark. Now, of course, they're doubling down to finish the job. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe. And of course, always remember, think AI, think AIM.